What is that called?
The Antikythera mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah. That ship owners were extremely careful about who they shared this technology with.
Of course.
What if ancient civilizations cracked codes we still don't understand? A steam engine spinning in the 1st century, earthquake-proof walls, a compass that always pointed south, without magnets. These aren't myths. They're real. Long before the modern world, ancient minds tapped into something extraordinary. The question is, how did they know? Get ready to uncover the 20 ancient technologies that shouldn't have existed. Ancient Greek space tech. All right, so get this. Over a century ago, divers were checking out a Roman-era shipwreck off the coast of Antikythera, a tiny Greek island. They were hoping for statues, gold, maybe some ancient wine. But instead, they stumbled on something way crazier. A busted-up lump of bronze that turned out to be 2,000 years ahead of its time. Yeah, we're talking about the Antikythera mechanism, a piece of tech so advanced that it's basically the world's first analog computer. And no cap, this thing could track planetary movements, forecast eclipses, and even predict the timing of ancient Olympic Games. We're not talking just gears and knobs either. This device had over 30 intricate bronze gears jam-packed in a wooden case. It's like finding a mechanical smartwatch in an ancient tomb. Experts date it to around 150 BCE, and it changed everything. No one thought the Greeks had mechanical tech this advanced. Europe didn't catch up for another 1,000 years. So how did they do it? Lost knowledge? Hidden genius? Maybe not aliens, but it's wild either way. What blows everyone's mind is that this level of craftsmanship disappeared for centuries.
This was a device that we wouldn't see again for another 2,000 years.
Like, who else knew how to make these? And why didn't that knowledge get passed on? This device didn't just rewrite history, it made us question everything we thought we knew about ancient engineering. Lost blade secrets. Here's a real head-scratcher from the past. How did ancient blacksmiths craft blades so strong, so sharp, and so straight-up beautiful that modern scientists are still trying to crack the code? We're talking about Damascus steel. These legendary weapons were the goat of ancient warfare, used from around 300 BCE all the way through the Crusades. And no joke, swords made from this stuff could slice through silk mid-air or even shatter other blades. That signature wavy pattern? Straight fire. But the real flex? No one today knows exactly how they pulled it off. The secret sauce? It's believed they used something called Wootz steel from India, mixed with some next-level smithing techniques that were totally lost to time. We're talking nano-level carbides before nano-anything was even a thing. Wild, right? Some researchers think it involved precise temperature control and unique chemicals in the ore. But even today, we can't fully replicate Damascus steel. How do you lose the secret to making one of history's best blades? And that's what's so dope about it. It's not just about the blade. It's about knowledge. Lost, buried, maybe even deliberately hidden. No cap, Damascus steel is one of those ancient texts that leaves you shaken. It's a vibe, a mystery, and a reminder that sometimes the old heads were way ahead of their time. Rome's unbreakable mix. How are some Roman buildings still standing strong after 2,000 years, while modern concrete cracks in, like 50? The answer? Roman concrete. And no joke, this ancient mix might just be the hardest flex in construction history. Take the Pantheon in Rome. Its dome is still the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. Then there are the aqueducts, harbors, and roads that haven't budged much in centuries. Meanwhile, some parking garages today are already falling apart. So what was their secret? Turns out that Roman builders weren't just winging it. They used volcanic ash, lime, and seawater in their mix. And scientists now think they were cooking up a chemical reaction that allowed their concrete to heal itself. Yup, self-repairing concrete. That's wild. Recent studies show that when cracks formed in Roman concrete, water would hit these lime clumps inside the mix, sparking a new reaction that patched things up on its own. Like, that's some futuristic tech, but from ancient times. Even crazier? The formula wasn't just sturdy, it was eco-friendly. Less carbon, more durability, and somehow more sustainable than what we're using today. No cap, the Romans were out here setting construction standards we still can't match. The first battery? A wild one story from ancient Mesopotamia that'll have you doing a double take. The so-called Baghdad battery. Yeah, you heard that right. A clay jar, some copper, and an iron rod, and boom, possibly the first ever battery. This strange artifact was dug up near Baghdad, dating back to around 250 BCE, during the Parthian era. At first glance, it just looks like an old container. But when researchers took a closer look, things got really interesting. Inside the jar was a copper cylinder with an iron rod, and when filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar or grape juice, it could generate a small electric charge. So what was it for? Some folks think it might have been used for electroplating, basically using electricity to coat objects with thin layers of metal. If true, that's a serious leap in ancient tech. Others argue it could have had a religious or medicinal use. But still, a freaking battery over 2,000 years ago? That's next level. Here's the kicker though. No written records, no manuals, nothing to confirm what it was really for. So we're left guessing. Was it a practical tool? A science experiment? Or just some fluke we're reading too much into? Either way, this little jar has sparked big debates. If the Baghdad battery really was a working power source, that means ancient civilizations might have understood electricity way before Ben Franklin flew his kite. Pyramid building mystery. The Great Pyramids of Giza weren't just massive stone structures, they were engineering beasts, built over 4,500 years ago and is still standing tall today. That's not just impressive, it's borderline unbelievable. How did the ancient Egyptians pull this off without cranes, trucks, or lasers? We're talking 2.3 million blocks, each weighing anywhere from 2 to 80 tons, stacked with insane precision. And somehow, these blocks are aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions. Like how even? Some experts say they used sleds on wet sand. Others suggest ramps, straight, zigzag, spiral, every shape's been proposed. But the truth is, we still don't know. Each theory adds a piece, but the full picture's still missing. And it's not just about stacking rocks. These builders were flexing serious math skills too. The dimensions of the Great Pyramid line up freakishly close with Earth's geometry. Coincidence? Maybe. But it sure gets people talking. One idea that's been gaining steam is the use of internal ramps, hidden spiral pathways inside the structure. Sounds clever, right? But until someone finds physical proof, it's just another theory on the pile. Whatever the answer is, one thing's for sure: the pyramids aren't just tombs. They're ancient blueprints of brilliance that still have modern engineers scratching their heads. Peru's desert code. Let's talk about one of the most mind-blowing mysteries baked into the earth itself: the Nazca lines. These massive geoglyphs are sprawled across the desert plains of southern Peru, and no lie, they're straight up huge. Some stretch over 1,000 feet long, and you can only fully see them from way up in the air. Created over 1,500 years ago by the Nazca people, these designs include hummingbirds, monkeys, spiders, and even perfectly straight lines running for miles. And get this, they were carved into the desert by simply removing the reddish rocks on top, exposing the lighter soil underneath. Super low tech, but executed with insane precision. Now here's where it gets weird. How did an ancient culture with no aircraft, drones, or satellite view manage to pull this off? And more importantly, why? Some scholars think the lines were part of sacred rituals, possibly linked to rain and agriculture. Others say they marked underground water sources or worked as a giant astronomical calendar. And yeah, of course, the alien crowd's been wildin' with their own theories. But even with all the research, we still don't have a clear answer. No blueprints, no written records. Just massive, cryptic artwork that's been chilling in the desert for centuries, defying logic. Earthquake-proof. Stones. Now, here's something that'll leave you shook, literally. The Incan Empire, way up in the Andes, built walls so tight you couldn't slide a credit card between the stones. And they did it all without mortar. No glue, no cement, just pure skill and stone. Their technique? It's called ashlar masonry, cutting giant stones to fit together with insane precision. We're talking multi-ton blocks shaped like puzzle pieces, each one unique, locking in like a perfect Tetris move. And guess what? These walls are still standing, even after centuries of brutal earthquakes that wiped out modern buildings. So how'd the Incas pull it off? Some think they used bronze tools and a mix of water, sand, and elbow grease. Others believe they had a secret mud compound that helped perfect the fit. But here's the kicker: no one really knows for sure. The exact method? Still a mystery. What we do know is that their designs were straight up genius. The walls had slight curves and angled joints to absorb shock waves, flexing with the earth instead of cracking under pressure. It's like ancient anti-earthquake tech, and it actually works. Think about it. No advanced tech, no written blueprints, just raw knowledge passed down through generations. That's not just impressive, that's legendary. Their stonework didn't just survive time, it straight up owned it. Fire that couldn't die. Imagine being in a sea battle thinking you're holding your own, when suddenly the enemy unleashes a fire that burns on water. No cap, that's exactly what the Byzantine Empire had in their back pocket: Greek fire. This stuff wasn't your average torch. It was an ancient weapon so savage, so unstoppable, it turned the tides of war. Sprayed from siphon-like devices on ships, Greek fire stuck to enemy vessels and kept burning, even on the ocean's surface. For real, it was basically the napalm of the ancient world. The wild part? We still don't know exactly what it was made of. Historians and chemists have been trying to crack the code for years, but the Byzantines weren't sharing. The formula was top secret, like guarded tighter than gold. Some think it was a mix of oil, resin, sulfur, and maybe quicklime or naphtha. Others say there was some wild chemical combo that reacted with water to ignite. Either way, nobody's been able to fully replicate it. And its impact? Legendary. Greek fire helped defend Constantinople more than once, making it one of the most effective weapons of the era. Enemy fleets had zero chance. Once it was lit, it was game over. Spiral of genius. How did an ancient Greek brainiac end up influencing modern-day engineering? Sounds wild, but Archimedes was really that guy. So, one of his dopest inventions, the Archimedes screw. This thing looks simple. A spiral wrapped around a cylinder, turned by hand to move water uphill. But here's the kicker. It was built over 2,000 years ago and it still slaps in today's world. For real. Originally, it was used to help farmers in ancient Egypt get water from the Nile up to their fields. And although it's called the Archimedes screw, there's a twist, no pun intended. Some historians think he might not have even invented it. He might have just made it way better. Either way, his name's on it, and that's a fact. Now, here's where it gets crazy. We're still using this tech today. You'll find modern versions of it in wastewater plants, irrigation systems, and even in hydroelectric dams. How is something so old still solving 21st century problems? That's the part that messes with your head. And the design? It's mad efficient. No gears, no motors, just physics doing its thing. Helical engineering, baby, clean, smart, and super reliable. Archimedes really dropped a timeless blueprint. Makes you wonder, how many other ancient gadgets were way ahead of their time? How much genius have we slept on from back then? Steam-powered surprise. Did the ancient world already mess with steam power over 2,000 years ago? Yup, buckle up. 'Cause Heron of Alexandria was way ahead of his time. His invention? The Aeolipile, basically the OG steam engine. This wild little device was just a hollow metal sphere with bent pipes sticking out. Light a fire underneath, and steam pressure made it spin like crazy. Simple setup, but totally mind-blowing for the 1st century AD. So why isn't Heron's name in the same convo as Edison or Tesla? That's the real mystery. Dude literally built a working engine before machines were even a thing. But back then, it was treated more like a party trick than a power revolution. Total missed opportunity, no cap. And here's the thing, this wasn't just some sketchy prototype. It showed real jet propulsion in action, long before Newton ever dropped his laws of motion. Some historians even call it the world's first reaction engine. Fast forward to now, and we use those same basic jet principles to launch rockets and power turbines. Heron was flexing with steam tech while the rest of the world was still grinding with hand tools and pulleys. No matter how you slice it, the Aeolipile was straight fire, literally and figuratively. And it proves one thing. Sometimes the future shows up way earlier than we're ready for. Viking GPS hack. Alright, so we all know Vikings were fierce warriors, but turns out they were also low-key navigation nerds. And get this, they might have had their own ancient version of GPS. Enter the Unar Tak disc, a flat wooden artifact that's got archaeologists doing double takes. Found in Greenland, this thing is believed to be a sun compass used by Vikings to sail across the brutal North Atlantic with scary precision. No maps, no modern tools, just raw skill and this disc. Here's the kicker. Even when the sun was low or blocked by clouds, they still used it. By pairing the disc with a sunstone, a crystal that detects sunlight through overcast skies, they could keep track of true north. That's some big brain energy right there. Think about this. Centuries before compasses were widely used in Europe, the Vikings were crossing thousands of miles of open ocean with homemade tech. How wild is that? These dudes were pulling off transatlantic road trips before roads were even a thing. Some experts even believe the Unartok disc helped them sail from Scandinavia all the way to North America. That's right. Leif Erikson and the crew might have landed in Vinland thanks to this wooden circle and a chunk of crystal. No cap, the Vikings weren't just raiders, they were engineers of the sea. And this humble little disc, it might be the reason they ruled the waves. Underground water wizards. How did people in ancient Persia literally build underground highways for water? Over 2,500 years ago? Yeah, we're talking about the Persian Qanat system, a mind-blowing piece of ancient engineering that still has experts scratching their heads. This wasn't some simple ditch or trench. Nah, the Qanat was a full-blown network of tunnels, carved deep into the earth to tap groundwater and carry it across miles of brutal desert terrain, all without any pumps, electricity, or modern tech. For real? These underground channels started with a mother well, sometimes over 300 feet deep, dug into the mountains. Then, a series of access shafts were drilled along a gentle slope, connecting the water to distant cities and farms. Gravity did all the work. No cap, just pure genius. Now, here's the kicker. This wasn't a one-off. The Qanat system spread across ancient Iran, with cities like Yazd relying on it completely, and some are still working today, thousands of years later. That's true durability. How did ancient engineers calculate the perfect slope across miles of rocky ground without GPS or advanced tools? That's the part that leaves folks stunned. Some believe this tech was so ahead of its time that it's almost like something out of a lost civilization's playbook. China's OG compass. Okay, before GPS, before the compass, before even magnets were a thing, the ancient Chinese rolled out with a device that always pointed south. Yeah, no cap. It was called the south-pointing chariot, and it's straight up mind-blowing. This ancient tech used mechanical gears, not magnets, to keep a figurine on top of the chariot always facing the same direction. South, no matter how many times the wheels turned or how twisty the road got. We're talking about 2,000 plus years ago, fam. That's some early engineering genius right there. The real magic? Differential gears. The same core concept we still use in modern car axles. Yup, this thing was moving through ancient battlefields and royal processions using tech that wouldn't get mainstream until the 20th century. For real? Some legends say it was used to lead military formations across unknown terrain. Others think it had ceremonial or even symbolic purposes, always guiding travelers toward balance and harmony. Either way, this thing was not just some fancy decoration. This kind of invention shouldn't have existed back then. The math, the mechanics, the whole vibe, it was way ahead of its time. And the fact that it wasn't magnetic? Even crazier. These engineers were doing more with wooden gears and bronze parts than some folks do with high-tech tools today. Minoan Mystery Code. Here's one for the real mystery junkies. What if one of the world's oldest written puzzles is still sitting unsolved? 3,500 years later? That's the deal with the Phaistos disc, and trust me, it's got everyone scratching their heads. This clay disc, dug up on the island of Crete back in 1908, is one of the weirdest artifacts from the ancient world. It's covered in 241 stamped symbols, arranged in a spiral like someone was dropping a message meant to blow our minds centuries later. But here's the catch. No one knows what it says. Not even close. Some think it's an early form of writing. Others say it's a religious chant, a board game, or even ancient alien fan mail. Okay, maybe not that last one, or maybe. The symbols don't match anything else from the Minoan world, and decoding it has been a total bust for over a century. Even the direction it's meant to be read is still up for debate. Wild, right? And get this, it was stamped, not carved, which means someone had reusable printing tech way back in the Bronze Age. That's kinda insane, considering Gutenberg didn't roll through with the printing press until the 1400s. So here's the real kicker. Is this the world's first lost language? Or are we just not thinking like a Minoan? Japan's clay guardians. How did ancient Japan create clay figures so advanced that they're still stumping archaeologists today? Let's talk about the Haniwa figures. These aren't just old statues buried in the dirt. These terracotta masterpieces were crafted during Japan's Kofun period, over 1,500 years ago, and they're packed with mystery, skill, and straight-up artistic flex. So here's the deal. The Haniwa weren't just for show. These clay figures, shaped like warriors, animals, dancers, even entire houses, were made for one thing: rituals. They were carefully placed around burial mounds, standing guard like spiritual bodyguards for the dead. Some were nearly life-sized, and each one was hand-built with crazy attention to detail. But here's the head-scratcher. How did people from that era, without kilns as advanced as today's, pull off such complex ceramic work? The Haniwa were hollow, built in sections, and required precise firing techniques to prevent cracks. We're talking serious craftsmanship. No biggie, just ancient engineers casually slaying the clay game. And the deeper you go, the more questions pop up. Why were some so abstract, while others were freakishly realistic? Archaeologists still don't fully get the symbolism, and that's what makes the Haniwa so dope. It's like they left behind this massive gallery of ancient Japanese life, wrapped in mystery and ritual. Ancient quake detector. Let's talk about something that sounds totally out of pocket for 132 AD, an earthquake detector that didn't just feel the shake, but pointed out exactly where it came from. And yeah, the ancient Chinese actually built that. This mind-blowing device was the brainchild of Zhang Heng, a Chinese scientist who was seriously ahead of his time. The thing looked like a bronze vase, with 8 dragon heads around the sides. Each dragon held a metal ball in its mouth, and below each one, a toad with its mouth wide open. Now here's where it gets crazy. When an earthquake hit, even one that people couldn't feel, the right dragon would drop its ball into the toad's mouth, pointing toward the quake's direction. That's not just cool, it's wildly accurate for something built nearly 2,000 years ago. And this wasn't just a myth. Historical records say it actually worked. One time, a ball dropped, indicating a quake hundreds of miles away. Days later, a messenger confirmed the tremor hit exactly in that direction. No cap, Zhang Heng was on his Einstein-level grind. The real kicker? Scientists today still debate how it worked. Some say it used pendulums or sensitive levers inside the vessel, but no one's been able to recreate it exactly with full confidence. It's like Zhang left us all on read. So, the Chinese seismograph wasn't just a gadget, it was next-level genius that showed just how deep their science game really was. Medieval robot master. Yes, we're talking robotics, but not Boston Dynamics. This was 12th century, and the man behind the magic? Ismail Al-Jazari, the OG tech wizard from the Islamic Golden Age. This dude wasn't just building fountains and clocks. He was creating automata, legit programmable machines that could move, perform, and even play music. Yeah, you heard that right. One of his wildest builds? A full-on robotic musical band that floated on a boat and played tunes for royal parties. And get this, it was programmable. Swap the pegs on the drum and boom, new rhythm. That's not just art, that's engineering with flavor. Al-Jazari documented over 50 mechanical inventions in his famous book, The Book of Knowledge of Ingenious Mechanical Devices. Inside, you'll find elephant clocks, water-lifting machines, and robotic servants, all powered by gears, hydraulics, and pure brain power. This man was straight up building the blueprint for modern robotics, while Europe was still figuring out how to boil water. And it's not just about flexing tech. Al-Jazari was setting the foundation for automation as we know it. Some of the concepts he pioneered, like crankshafts, cams, and feedback systems, are still being used in machines today. That's next-level legacy right there. Al-Jazari didn't just build machines, he built a whole vibe for future inventors. Dude was the father of robotics before robotics was even a word. Brothers of the Machine. Let's throw it back to 9th century Baghdad, where 3 brothers were casually rewriting the rules of mechanical engineering. The Banu Musa brothers dropped a book so legendary that it straight up sounds like a medieval tech manual from the future. It's called the Book of Ingenious Devices, and trust me, it lives up to the name. These guys detailed over 100 wild inventions, from self-filling lamps to automatic fountains and even mechanical singing birds. And yeah, they were all real working devices, powered by air pressure, gravity, and water flow. One of their coolest creations? A security system with a hidden lock mechanism that wouldn't open unless the right sequence was triggered. Basically, an early smart lock. No cap. They even had a drink dispenser that let you control the flow using valves. That's some next-level party trick for the Caliph's crew. And don't get it twisted, this wasn't just some sci-fi sketchbook. The Banu Musa bros were serious engineers. They broke down the physics, the hydraulics, the gears, everything. It was like reading a DIY robotics manual 1,000 years before the word robot even existed. What makes this even crazier? Europe didn't catch up to most of this tech until centuries later. These brothers were out here laying the groundwork for modern automation, while the rest of the world was still trying to light a proper lamp. The Banu Musa weren't just building devices, they were engineering a whole new future. Rust-proof wonder. All right, here's one that's got modern metallurgists scratching their heads. How did ancient India forge an iron pillar that refuses to rust after 1,600 freaking years? Say hello to the Iron Pillar of Delhi, a 23-foot tall column that's been chillin' in the open air since the 4th century. And it's still rockin' that clean metallic shine like it just rolled out the shop. No stainless steel, no protective coatings, no cap. So what's the secret? Scientists say it's all about the high phosphorus content and the way the iron was forged. Turns out that ancient Indian blacksmiths were mixing their metal in a way that created a thin, protective layer called misawhite, basically an early rust shield before chemistry was even a thing. And here's the kicker. This level of metallurgical finesse didn't pop up in Europe until way later. These ancient engineers were on another level, using techniques we didn't fully understand until the 20th century. But this pillar isn't just some science experiment. It's a cultural and spiritual symbol too. Originally built to honor a king, it's now a major landmark that draws tourists, scientists, and straight-up curious minds from all over the world. The Iron Pillar of Delhi isn't just a structure. It's proof that ancient tech wasn't just advanced, it was elite. Heat hack from history. What if I told you ancient builders figured out a way to store energy with bricks? Sounds like some MIT-level experiment, right? Well, the Hittites were doing it back in 1600 BC. Yeah, that's fact. We're talking about fire bricks, simple-looking, heavy-duty blocks that could soak up insane amounts of heat and hold it for hours. The Hittites used them in their kilns and furnaces, heating them up during the day, then using the stored energy to keep things lit well into the night. No electricity, no wires, just straight-up thermal tech. Now, here's the plot twist. modern scientists are bringing this ancient flex back. Research teams today, including folks at MIT, are exploring fire brick energy storage to help power homes and factories with renewable energy. These bricks can hit temps up to 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit and hold that heat to create steam or even electricity on demand. Sound familiar? So, basically, the Hittites were on their green energy grind before climate change was even a concept. And real talk, this isn't just some historical side note. It's a wake-up call. Sometimes, the future is just us catching up to the past. These ancient minds weren't just building temples and weapons. They were out here testing energy solutions that are making a comeback right now. If the Greeks built a mechanical computer 2,000 years ago, what else did they figure out that we've forgotten? How much ancient tech is still lost? Share your thoughts in the comments section below, subscribe, and hit the bell for more.